Hey guys, welcome back to the Fit Couples Perspective.
Hey guys, it's been a long time.
It's been a minute.
It's been the summer because you know what?
It's been a minute.
That is why we have not been consistently giving you guys episodes, and we're back.
We are back, and summer gets crazy. Like, I know that there's some parents that listen to us out there, but when I say summer gets crazy, like summer gets crazy.
Yeah,
I like summer, but I think you don't like summer.
Excuse me? No, I love summer. So we could just never do a podcast because we literally always had somebody here, and usually that someone or somebody's always made so much noise. There was no possible way that we were going to get away with like having it quiet enough for like more than 5 minutes.
Well, I think that's the hard part. And we tried doing like we do our crumble cookies video reviews in the middle of the day here in the summer, and it takes like every resource we have to get people to be quiet for even the 15 minutes that it takes to do that. So it's a lot of fun. We love summer, but summer is it's a tough time to do a podcast. So if you're a parent and you're considering doing a podcast out of your own home in the summer, just know there's going to be
You probably won't do it.
There's going to be some tough times. And I like summer schedule for me because mornings are way less stressful. So I normally get the kids up in the morning and get them off to school, which is a drastic difference in the summer. But then you have to be home with them all day during the summer trying to find something to do to entertain them. So yeah. I can see where it would be hard.
Yes.
And we let the kids kind of.
It's a free for all.
It's like a free for all, but it's more freer for all than it normally is. And I just like even staying up late. Like our kids don't really have like a bedtime in the summer.
I guess it's when we go to bed.
Yeah, their bedtime's like, we're going to bed. We should probably not leave our children unsupervised sitting around the house any longer. So whereas like during the school year, you know, it's they get their bedtime and they get some structure back, which I think is kind of helpful to some degree.
Yes.
And it was funny because we did a lot of the water park, a lot of the Roaring Springs in the summer. We did some camping and stuff. But I personally like, as much as I like summer, I also look forward to some of the structure that comes with the school year.
I think that every person, like really and truly every human does better on a schedule. I hate schedules. I hate like having anything that I like an alarm to me to wake up in the morning is literally the biggest drag of my entire life. So like, and just like having like whenever I have like a dentist appointment for the kids or like anything that like takes it away from like me not being able to do whatever I want. I know that sounds like so like first world problems, but it's like it's my personality. But I feel like you like run so much better like on a schedule. I think that we've talked about this before, but
yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, like I said, I think every human actually does better, and especially kids. Like, I think our kids by the end of the summer were like little nightmares.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and we talked about this. Kids they get too comfortable, right? And it's like when every day you get to kind of wake up when you want, go to bed when you want, and probably get a little more screen time than you're used to, and you get to go to the water park with your season pass and stuff. And by the end of the summer, like the last camping trip we took, it was like, hey, you guys want to go on a bike ride? They're like, no, we have to. And it's like, let's go paddleboarding. I don't want to go paddleboarding.
Even us it's like, thinking really? Of a hike in our own head. Oh, yeah. I feel like they could hear it in our head.
They were just like absolutely not a hike. Like if it brings any level of discomfort to me, I am not about it.
Yeah.
And I think that was the hard thing about summer. So having to get up in the morning and go to school, like that's a good thing, and having a bedtime is a good thing, and some homework and things like that. Like I think it's good because like over time it's just like they got too comfortable, and then it's like any sign of discomfort and they just like lose it, which is not awesome.
I think that we could even like take that into the fitness like world of just like people that are trying to like get into fitness and trying to like get into like a diet. Like I think that that's where people like that's exactly the same like not metaphor, but like the same thing that they're going through. It's like a little discomfort from like not being able to eat whatever you want whenever you want is like, then that's when people just like, no.
I like using the story of, I remember when I first like dieted for a show, and I never really, before that I was like force feeding myself. I was just, you know, you're trying to eat as much food as you can because you're trying to bulk up. And then you hit that first point in your life when you actually like restrict your calories for long enough, where you get to a point where you like first like truly start feeling like hunger. So I don't know that anybody ever really feels hunger. They have like cravings. And I remember this one time I was at this like party event of some sort, and there was pizza there that had pineapple on it. And I've never liked pineapple on pizza. Like, let's just be clear, pineapple does not belong on pizza. But for the first time in my life, I'm like, what I wouldn't give to devour some pineapple pizza right now. And I remember somebody came by and they were like, oh, I'm hungry, good pizza. And they opened up, they're like, ew, gross, pineapple pizza. And I'm like, you eat that pineapple pizza right now because you can. And some of us can't, okay? And it was kind of just that eye-opener, like, wow, I really appreciated food more when you actually like have to put yourself in that discomfort scenario. And I think a lot of people get like that. They're just, and we've talked to people like I want to lose weight really bad, but ugh, chicken, I don't want to eat it.
Okay, I think that we actually have a very good, and I'm not trying to exploit our children, but our oldest daughter is just getting into like, I mean, she's 16, so like I think body, like they're discovering that like there's a chain of events of like eating and how that transfers to how you look or like how much you work out or whatever. I mean, obviously like they've been around us enough that like I think at a young age they kind of like get a little bit of the concept, but like as she's growing up, she's like wants our opinion and our advice. And it's funny because it's like just like that with her. Like she hasn't gotten to the point yet where like eating what she, I guess, like it to look the way that she wants, which she looks amazing. She looks great. She doesn't need to do anything, but she asked for our opinion. She asked for our advice. We're going to give her the best advice that we have for a 16-year-old girl, which isn't much, but it's like eat more protein. Like have that like be the forefront of maybe your diet that you're thinking about. Like every meal have some protein in it. And like
no, it's just like no,
like she's too picky. She like, so there's too many hoops for her, and it's not worth it.
Yeah, and I think it's just like they're starting to make this correlation, and everybody does it at some point in their life. Like they make this correlation between like, okay, the things I put in my body like affect the way that I look, and I want to look a certain way, but I also want to eat a certain way. And really, like you have to get to this point where you say, look, like I want this more than I want this. Like I want to have a certain physical appearance more than I want to enjoy that food, that satisfaction from eating that food that I know doesn't support those goals. And it's interesting. That's totally like an interesting scenario to bring up. And I used to say that to clients all the time. When clients would say they wanted a goal so bad, but they didn't want to give up like that one thing, you know, I gotta have my ice cream every single night, a pint of ice cream or whatever it is, and certainly like things within reason. But it was interesting just to see when I would say to them, it's okay, I'm not mad at you, it's totally fine, like you don't have to cut that out, you don't have to stop doing that, let's just recognize that this is more important to you than seeing your goals of X, Y, and Z. And their faces would be like, no, it's not. No, I want those results. It's like, well, no, because actions speak louder than words. And you continue to do this even though you know that it doesn't support that goal. And that's okay. I'm not mad at you. Let's just readjust our expectations. Yeah. And I think that was like, they'd be like, no, it's not more important. And you're like, well, yeah, I mean, everything we choose in life essentially shows what's important to us. Yep. And where our priorities are, which I think is just, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and it's funny too, like I think it doesn't matter like what facet of life I feel like, but like kids at a certain age start to find correlations of that, like what's important to them will show. So it doesn't matter what it is. It could be religion, it could be what you're like fitness. It could be like if you're trying to be really good at a certain sport or like whatever. The correlation starts to come like, oh, if I like even our son, like I feel like with soccer in the last like 2 years, he's realized the correlation of practicing outside of soccer and seeing results on the field.
Yeah.
And I think before then it was like we'd tell him to go practice and it was like, for what?
Yeah.
You know, and like there was just no correlation. So it's funny how I think as humans, we like, as a kid, you like don't ever, there's like not, you don't think about those.
It takes time. And like you've got to like develop these things over time. But yeah, it is interesting. And even our youngest son, he was like saying the other day how he wanted to be the best soccer player in the world. You know, and it's like, okay, well, you do understand that like the best soccer player in the world, like they spend a lot of time practicing on their craft and you know, and it's like, well, I'm just going to be the best. It's just what I'm going to do. Yeah. But having that understanding that it takes X to get to Y is something that they don't really get. And it's, yeah, it's totally interesting there.
Yeah. Anyways, and what was you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, it kind of like goes along with a little bit too with, we were talking about the Olympics like a lot lately because we watched the Olympics. I'm sure a lot of you guys watched the Olympics, and we didn't watch a ton of it, but we watched the sprinting, and we watched that documentary Sprint on Netflix, and we were kind of like, it was good. It was really good, especially watching it like close to the Olympics. Yeah. But we kept talking about these sprinters, and what's one thing that like a couple things we kept talking about the sprinters, but physically, what was one thing that kept coming up about the sprinters?
What do you mean?
Like how good they looked, right?
Oh yeah.
Like Terica kept being like, oh my gosh, these girls' bodies, like I love these and stuff. And then we like,
because they were just in that right, at least for me, in my personal opinion, that's like the look. If I could look a certain way, it's like they have a muscular build. They're not like a marathon runner. A marathon runner is much more lean and long, and they don't have like round big muscles. Where the sprinters, now their butts, their shoulders, their calves, like everything about them is just like this explosive. I have
never heard her speak so highly of women's physiques as I have the sprinting ladies. Yeah. And it was like, oh my gosh, their butt and their arms and their triceps and everything. And so we started talking like, well, why is that, right? Because they're not these bodybuilders that are in there just like training like crazy hard.
They have to run fast, so it's not, you don't want to be adding a ton of muscle. I mean, you want, obviously, they're muscular, so you want muscle, but.
So I had my thoughts, and I'll share it here in a minute, but why do you think these sprinters look so good? Because look, a lot of the girls like that I know that are in the gym that are probably watching this, they would want to look like that. They'd be like, I would take that look of that world-class sprinter physique look. Why do you think they looked like that after watching the Olympics, after watching the documentary? Why do you think they have these amazing physiques?
Well, they are training like a lot during the day. First of all, I think that they're fueling their body like as a top athlete would. I mean, they have like so many people probably telling them what to eat, how to eat, so that their bodies can be in the best shape. And I also think to be a sprinter, you have to have like a good amount of muscle, because in my opinion, most of the sprinting is like that first like 50 meters, and like how you come out of the blocks. And if you think about coming out of the blocks, like you're not thinking of someone that's super skinny and tiny and doesn't have a lot of muscle. Like these people have to be explosive. I think explosive athletes usually have a lot of muscle. Yeah. And they're just I mean, you can tell that, I mean, when they run, it's like they are literally all out. They're going all out like every single run. Like most people don't ever do that in their workout regimen. And
that's kind of what my takeaway was. And after watching it, because you look at these and you're like, oh my gosh, these people look exactly the way that a lot of people are trying to look. And while they don't like necessarily weight train like crazy or anything.
At least that we know. They didn't show that. Yeah, I mean, there's one girl that was kind of.
I still don't think they do.
But I know there's not girls lifting like as heavy as I lift.
No.
And they looked definitely jacked.
Jacked. And arms too. Arms and shoulders. Yeah. And I think their diet's probably okay. But I don't think it's amazing. It's probably pretty good. They're not like watching carbs or anything, though. You know, they're like eating good food. I'm sure at that level.
And the younger, I bet, the less they probably have in their diet. I bet the younger ones are like, give me a Snickers and some Skittles before the.
And they get away. They get away with it. I mean, obviously they're burning so many calories. But the one thing, like here's Trainer Mike's opinion. My takeaway on that is the intensity at which they do their activity. Like, how many people can say they go 100% effort when they're training? 100%. Because every time they sprint in like the 100 meters, which is the ones that really have the goal physique for a lot of people, they are giving 100% effort on that. And even people that work really, really hard in the gym, are they giving 100% effort, like over and over and over and over and over again, like when those guys practice their sprints? No, I don't think they are. And I think that's a huge reason why they look the way that they look. Like when you are demanding 100% out of your muscles, when you're trying to shave a tenth of a second off of your time, it's got to be perfect. Like you've got to push really, really hard. And I think that's why. That's my takeaway. Like if there was one thing above all else, I don't think it's the nutrition or the training necessarily. It's the effort that goes into that activity.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to... I agree with you, but I also kind of disagree, just because from what I have seen over the past like decade of me and like working out and eating, the diet is like 90% of the way that I feel like if I've changed how I looked, that's the reason. So it's hard for me.
But you don't train like they do. And that's why I think they can get away with it. No, you don't train like a sprinter.
I'm just kidding. But
you train hard.
Yeah, but there are people that I feel like do go 100%, like sometimes CrossFitters, although CrossFitters do look, I would say, comparable, but like they have different muscles that are engaged more, so they look differently overall.
But CrossFitters also go 100%.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I know, that's what I'm saying, who goes 100%. And I also think Olympic lifters go 100%. And most Olympic lifters, I'm not trying to that's not a physique that I would necessarily go for. I'm sure that there are Olympic lifters out there that maybe but they don't look like that most of the time.
I think there's a time frame associated with it too. Like yes, Olympic lifters go 100%, but it's like for a second, right? And sprinters go 100% for 10 seconds or more. CrossFitters go 100%.
Now it's just time.
Yeah, no, I think it matters. Like I do think that matters. But I think that's the takeaway. Anyways, like from our perspective, like from my perspective, is it's just that reminder. I think it's the intensity. And maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I bet I would be interested, because the Sprint documentary didn't really cover their diets.
That's true. I would be very interested in that. I
bet we'd be surprised.
I bet as they get older, though, the more cued in their diet is. I was going to say, I thought it was interesting. I was watching you didn't watch this, but that Simone Biles biography kind of type thing. They were talking about gymnastics, and I think this goes for sprinting, I'm sure, too, and most other Olympic sports. But like, it's kind of funny because it reminded me, and I was going to bring this up to you, but I never did, about doing a show. Because they were saying how they do reps and reps, like Simone does, like all of the Olympic gymnasts. And I think that it's probably the same goes for like the sprinters, to get themselves ready for the Olympics, but they peak. And they were saying that they need to peak at the exact right time at the Olympics. And I never thought about that. Like and I don't know what that means. So their training ramps up, and then it has to peak right at the Olympics. Yeah. So it's just on that verge of like, you're going to get really, really hurt. Your body's going to break down. And then you have to come off of training. And they have to hit that like perfectly. And I like never thought, you just think like, she just does that every day. But it's really not. Like they were saying, like she doesn't do the stuff that she does on the floor.
There's just no way.
Yeah.
You'd get hurt.
Yeah. And so I was just thinking about that. Like how interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. It's kind of like a show. Like you peak. They peak. They're athletes and they peak. And it, probably the same thing goes for sprinters. It's like if you went that fast, like every time that you went out of the blocks, I'm sure you'd pull something at some point, you know, because it's like doing those reps that many times. It's inevitable.
And I used to tell people, I used to say, your goal as a bodybuilder is to get to that point where you feel like you have nothing left to give. Like you are on the verge of death, right? And you want to hit that point right at about 5 days before a show, right? Just right there. And if you hit it just right, you know, then it's like good, then we can deload, start feeding you again, carb up. But if you hit that too early, like if you hit that 2 weeks out or 3 weeks out when you just literally have no gas left in the tank, that's not a good, and that's like an art. And I'm sure for these guys too, it takes time to be like, okay, how do we get Simone to peak just right? Like we have to ramp up our training in just a way. And I think that comes with time. I don't think there's any perfect way to find that, but that is interesting.
Yeah. Anyways, our perspective on the Olympics.
Our perspective. So
we are not Olympic athletes,
no,
nor do we pretend to be. But it is interesting because I do think that you can find so many like connections between fitness and like eating and just like the Olympics and seeing what bodies can do and what humans are.
Well, again, success leaves clues, right? You see somebody that has this successful physique, so to speak, and then maybe that's not yours, but again, I've talked to enough people in a gym setting where I think they'd be pretty thrilled to look like those Olympic athletes. But they're not all the same, you know, the 200 meter even, and the 400 meter, they start getting a little more thinner, stringy and not as lean. So there's like something to be said about that.
Then you get into
time frame.
Walkers.
Yeah, then you get into speed walkers, all that stuff. But no,
they look great.
I do think it's interesting, and that's kind of our update from summer to the Olympics.
And I think that we will be coming back with you guys every week. We should be here weekly, and we're excited to be back.
Let's do it. Let's make some podcasts.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Okay, bye.